BP has agreed to pay an estimated $7.8 billion to resolve private plaintiffs' claims for economic loss, property damage, and injuries related to the Gulf oil spill. My guests today are attorney Wes Farrell of Farrell Patel in Miami and Rick Kuykendall of Kuykendall Associates and of counsel to Farrell Patel in Miami. Gentlemen, welcome. So let's just begin with what this settlement is all about. Explain what's going on here.
This settlement deals with what has traditionally been known in the pleading bundle over in the MDL as B1 claimants, primarily businesses and individuals who have suffered economic and business losses, but it also has a feature which will address some of the health consequences of workers who were and individuals who were exposed to the oil.
Again, we hear the settlement was somewhere in the neighborhood of $7.8 billion. Were any of the damages capped in this settlement?
That's a good question, Scott. One of the areas that is not settled, and it's an all-important one, are the governmental entities. And by that, we include cities, municipalities, local governments, parishes, and counties, as well as states and the United States of America. So the governmental entities have not been resolved through, will not be resolved through this settlement.
At this point, there's been a lot of reports that the settlement was for, I believe, 7.9 billion. But keep in mind, that's just an estimate, that under the actual agreement, from what we understand at this point, there is no cap on the settlement, and that BP has agreed to pay all claims that are eligible. Now, the real important question, I think, for any claimant out there and for us as well is, what does eligible mean? And I believe we'll find that out in the next few days.
So this settlement appears to end the GCCF and Mr. Feinberg's involvement in the settlement. So what takes place now?
It's important to remember that no one has actually seen the actual court documents. We anticipate that the Plaintiff Steering Committee will file those tomorrow or soon with the court. So there are bits and pieces and rumors all over the place about what this settlement will mean and how it will be implemented. This is supposed to be a class settlement, and that's unusual in this situation. So the class settlement will require a good bit of court supervision and a good bit of court oversight and approval. So what we understand from not just public accounts, but also private conversations with folks in the know in the PSC, there will be a foldover, for lack of a better word, of the current GCCF into a new claim system, which Wes will talk to you a little bit about.
Sure. And the GCCF as it currently exists, as far as we understand it, and nothing has been official yet, but it appears as though the GCCF will be transitioned into this new court-administered infrastructure, and the infrastructure will basically do what we believe will be a similar function as the GCCF, but the goal being that it's improved upon from some of the shortcomings of the GCCF. In the court release on March 2nd, they specifically said the intent of the framework is to be inclusive, and I believe what we found is the GCCF process, while it was originally intended to be inclusive, actually turned into quite adversarial process, whereby people were offered far less than what their claims were valued at. Our hope and our goal, as it always has been to the GCCF, will be to continue to get the largest amounts of settlements for people through this new infrastructure, and we're hopeful that it will be an improvement upon the GCCF.
Scott, let me say this I'm not speaking for the PSC. Their task was formidable, and we know that there were some very good lawyers that were negotiating this settlement, but things of this nature, given their complexity, are not perfect. We are hopeful that the PSC was able to achieve what they have publicly made public accounts, and that is making the process more streamlined, making it more efficient, making it a little bit fairer, and adding certain portions to it which were not covered under the current GCCF. Things like some element of or some recovery for property diminution, something with risk transfer premiums, which is just another way of saying a multiplier. That's one of the things that was woefully lacking in the GCCF. And also a little more transparency. Those are big challenges for the for the plaintiff steering committee, and challenges that they will have to meet if they're expecting that a class action settlement would be approved by a court. The court's going to have a lot of say-so, and properly so, in ensuring that the PSC or the class is taken care of, and that the individual members of the class are taken care of. Every one of the decisions, if you're a claimant out there, the decisions that are going to have to be made are now going to be a little more complicated, because you're going to have several options. You're going to have the option to go through, if the court approves the class or makes preliminary approval, you'll have an option to evaluate your claim under the class and see whether or not that is in your best interest. For some people, there may even be an option to remain in what's left of, or the fold over of the GCCF. That remains to be seen. And lastly, there's always the option of going to court, opting out of any kind of settlement. So these questions are the ones that we're going to help hopefully answer for your your listeners over the next couple of weeks as the details become clearer.
I think it's going to be yes. That's sort of what it appears to be at this point. But I think that is an important point for people who out there that don't understand what's going on. One of the things I tell people when doing town hall meetings all around the Gulf is, all these options that are available to everyone, people should go get advice. Even if they don't want to hire a lawyer, there's a lot of law firms that will give people advice for free. And, there's a lot of options here, and people need to make sure they understand what's available to them and what the most lucrative recovery is to them, because there's going to be a lot of different avenues of potential recovery, and somebody may be leaving money on the table, so to speak, if they make the wrong move and they don't understand all their options.
So if I were a person that has a claim already in process, does the new facility take care of that, or do I need to start over?
Specifically talking about someone who has initiated their claim before the GCCF, and their claim is either approved and awaiting payment, or their claim is pending, okay? The details on how that claim would be transferred over to the new system are not clear at this point. But what is publicly available, the intent of the process is to do just that without having people forced into filing over again and starting the entire claims process over again. There is a report this morning that if you were a person who had been approved but were awaiting payment, you will only be able to receive approximately 60% of that anticipated payment pending the outcome of your decision about whether to stay in the new fund and take the offer from the GCCF, or try to enhance the benefits that you might get from the fund. So every one of these decisions, the decisions that were easier 2 weeks ago, have become a little more complicated, and I think Wes is right. Everybody out there that's got questions, and they're going to be legitimate and good questions, need to consult somebody to discuss what their options are.